What's up, gentlemen? This is Rising Phoenix Podcast, a podcast about how to rise up after your divorce. I'm your host, divorce coach Michael Rhodes. Let's get into it. Joining me today is Andrew Ellenberg. Andrew is a single father who ended up winning sole custody of his daughter, and we're going to talk about that today. So, Andrew, let's start at the beginning. Where and when did you meet your ex? How old were you, and how old was she, and how soon after that did you guys end up getting married?
Sure. So we actually met through friends. I believe I was about 20, so
Hmm.
she was 19. We're right about the same age.
Gotcha.
Kind of friends, just hung out for a few years. When I was 23, we decided we kind of quickly moved in together because we had known each other so long and kind of, I guess there was a trust there, some kind of connection that we shared. And we decided very quickly, after about 2 weeks or so of living together, that we were going to get married.
Oh,
Um, and I thought, because I had known this person for a while, they didn't seem pretty normal. Seemed like, I felt like I was taking the steps in the direction of becoming an adult was in my head what I was doing. So that lasted for, it was great at first. We had a we started a business together. We had our own house. We kind of moved really quick, but something changed. I'm not sure what exactly happened. It was like the controlling part, just always needing to know where I'm at, what I'm doing, who I'm with.
mm,
So we kind of split off. We didn't talk to each other for probably 2 or 3 years. She had moved out of state. Um, I had made plans to move. I had sold my house, got rid of all my things, and we ended up talking, and that's where I ended up going. I moved to where she was almost maybe a month and a half after I got down there. She found out she was pregnant.
oh.
Um,
So
it was my kid. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. So were you married when she left?
Yeah, so we got married. I was 23
Okay.
when we got married. We split up and kind of just about a year, almost a year after we had got married, she packed up and moved away. I didn't hear from her.
Wow.
Um, all of a sudden, all of the sudden, I never changed numbers. She started messaging me occasionally, and then we started having phone conversations. And I didn't really have a lot going on here where I was, so
Yeah.
I feel like that was my calling. Again,
Right.
I thought, I'm
Right.
doing the adult thing. I'm trying to make it work.
Yeah.
So,
Did you guys ever have a
um,
conversation about why she left or
yeah, I mean, it was mutual. We just didn't.
oh, okay.
I didn't. I couldn't deal with the interrogations, basically, the needing to know what I'm doing every second of the day.
Okay.
Um, and now I understand it's because she was doing things behind my back and trying to make
Yeah.
sure that she wasn't about to get caught.
Yeah. Yeah. She
that
was
that's
definitely
that's what it that's what
definitely
it really boils
projecting.
down to.
Yeah, for sure. That's all that's a projection at its finest. Okay, so you kind of got tired of it. You guys went your separate ways. She moved out of state. You said it was about a year later that you ended up sort of reconciling. That's the case?
So it was actually about 3 years later.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so we didn't speak for a few years, and
Mm,
then whenever we started communicating, we just decided, hey, let's give it a shot. We're still married. We had still never got divorced. It it just never went through. So
yeah.
After I got down there, I quickly realized, that it was she had not grown, the growth that she was portraying was not, I wasn't seeing it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of already too late. She had told me she was pregnant, and we had already actually started talking about, going our separate ways again.
Oh wow.
Not, only,
Yeah.
a month and a half into it. So uh, I think it was about 2 weeks to the day that I found out she was pregnant. I actually was in a bad motorcycle wreck.
Mm,
Somebody pulled out in front of me, and I couldn't walk for almost a year.
shit.
So while I'm there, I got a ventilator too. I can't do anything. I'm strapped down.
Shit.
Um, I get I get served divorce papers while I'm in the hospital. Like she sends them there to serve me.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Jesus.
I'm trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. My family had to drive, 2 states away. It's like a 9 hour drive just to
Yeah.
come get my things to, put up for me. Um, she actually came to the hospital while I was there and just showed up and just started taking all my stuff. And she got the keys to um, the storage unit. Just, took basically just took what she wanted.
Damn.
And so I ended up making it down here with my family. They came and got me after I was able to leave the hospital, and I was able to convince her, because we're having a kid together,
Yeah.
to come back to, where we initially got together at. I ended up having to pay for, which I didn't mind, paying for everything, paying for her to move.
Yeah.
But there was always, where's your money you're getting? I kept constantly hearing the chatter about it.
Yeah.
Um, so, I kind of just dealt with it. I kind of just, gave her a little bit of money to make sure it was taken care of.
Sure.
Um, but it is, I didn't really get to talk to her a lot. The closer she got to having the baby, the less I heard from her.
Hmm.
And then, the day she was actually had the baby, she called me. She's like, "Look, it's time. Let's go." And maybe a week after that, she didn't want anything to do with me.
Hmm.
Um, wouldn't let me see the kid.
Yeah.
Um, she actually saw me a few weeks later in town, and I had somebody else in the car. It was another lady in the car with me, and when I got out of my car, I didn't think anything about it. I see my wife walking on the other side of my car, and yanks this woman out of my car, and is fist fighting in a parking lot, and there's a cop car right beside us, and she just doesn't care.
Jesus.
Um, she is able to attack her and get a few swings at me, and we actually for some even though I was being completely calm, never yelled, never hollered, I still ended up going to jail with her.
Oh
Just
shit.
it seemed like out of principle more than
Yeah.
anything. They
Yeah.
dropped the charge later, but
Yeah.
I still had to go to jail. I had to make plan. She had my daughter in the car, in her car across the street. It's July, the car's not running. Like,
Jesus.
so as soon as I go to court, and because we have to, we're both in handcuffs in the courtroom, and the judge is looking at me, telling me that I need to, unprovoked, just telling me that I need to give my kid over, that the mom's always best. And
Wow. Now, was this a male or female judge?
this was a male this time. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, this was he was basically just giving fines out.
Yeah.
So
So but this was a criminal judge. This wasn't a family law judge, right? Because you were going
no,
for,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
this is a criminal judge. So after she finally did get out, because I had my daughter here because she doesn't have any family here.
Mm,
And I didn't make a fuss. I just let her come pick her up.
mm,
And 2 days later, she was gone. Didn't know where she was, didn't know what had all her things were gone. She had moved back to where she was, and 2 states away again.
Oh wow.
So changed numbers, changed, dropped everything. I spent tons of money just in process servers and like investigate, trying to figure out where she was. And
Yeah.
once she did finally message me, she started sending me fake addresses and just
Jesus.
bizarre stuff, just trying to throw me off her trail, I guess.
Now, at any point, I'm just gonna ask this. At any point, did you ever go, "What the fuck was I thinking?" Because I'm wondering, what the fuck are you thinking, man?
Yeah, man, it's I don't know. I guess I just thought that, because the person that I met
Yeah,
wasn't the person that this is now. It just seemed like
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't know if that switch went off in her head and said, hey, I got him now. Like I can do whatever I want.
I
I
think
mean,
that's
that's
probably part of it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I'm, at the time, I'm 23.
yeah,
I'm gullible.
yeah,
I'm just looking for everything to fall together. And
yeah, yeah. Forgive me. I forget. 23. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. You don't know what you're doing at 23. Shit. It takes. I don't even
yeah,
know. 30 maybe. I don't know. All right. So then she disappears again. And she took the
hmm
kid this time. Now, when this other place 2 states away, was there family for her there? Or like, what was the pull to make her? Was it another dude? Not that it really matters, but I'm just curious as
sure.
why
No,
that
just
there.
she just had a few friends down there. There was, no real ties. Just she just knew a couple people, and she was trying to get as far away as possible. And
Yeah.
that was, that kind of became a theme for her. I found out, that finding a single friend just to run to escape reality in the world. That's
Yeah.
you know
So she moves away again, and then you have to do your best to find her. What happened after that? Did you? I mean, obviously you did, but what was next in that story? Did you get her back to come back, or did you have to go get the daughter? How did all? It is a daughter, right? If I remember correctly, you have a daughter.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what ended up happening was I finally was able to get her served. The judge, we had a basically an emergency order where I could get every other weekend where we had to meet halfway
Hmm.
and I would pick her up. And from that very first time, almost as soon as I picked her up, the mom was telling me, this isn't going to work. You just need to bring her back or you just need to keep her.
Oh.
Just a very extreme, it was one or the other. We couldn't,
Yeah.
there was no real way to work together.
Yeah.
And I tried and tried and tried, but I was able to get her. I think that the next night she actually called me and she said that she was already here in town. She had left all her things and was just staying in a parking lot right down the street from my house. Um, I was able to convince her to go stay with some family.
Yeah.
Um, she she did go get her things eventually, and I was able to, basically fund all that for her, coming back and getting a place started.
Yeah.
And I let her come stay with me some
Yeah.
until everything until she got a place.
Yeah.
It kind of I don't know that's where that part of I got him now.
Right. Right.
Just constantly I need money, I need money, I need money.
Yeah.
Which I've never had a problem with helping to provide for my daughter. But when you're needing money after all your bills are paid and you got food and everything, you're still needing $300
Yeah.
just because it's just I guess it's tough to deal with.
Sure. Yeah, I imagine it's frustrating. I mean, I had to pay, but it goes through the system, and that even that is could be frustrating if she brings up anything about money. So let me back up a little bit. Um, you eventually filed for custody. That's how you ended up getting the every other weekend thing. Is that right? Like you went to the courthouse and you filed.
Yeah, so I filed for emergency custody. I obtained a lawyer. I'm sorry, I missed that part.
No, no,
So
that's
I
okay.
actually,
Yeah, believe me, I'm sure we're going to jump around. I'm curious, what motivated you to do that? Like, what? I mean, obviously you had a kid, but to
sure.
actually, some people will just sit and piss and bitch and moan about it and not actually do anything. So what made you decide to, like, fuck it, I'm getting a lawyer?
Well, I actually, I feel like a lot of it has to do with my support system. I have an incredible support system. My family is just great. I have friends that are willing to listen to me and give me their honest opinion, and their best trying not to be biased.
Yeah,
Um, obviously my family has a little bit of bias, but
sure.
it did help to, just help keep me going that way.
Yeah,
And I wanted to from almost day one, I wanted to give up.
yeah. Oh,
So
I'm sure.
that was always, right there.
Yeah.
It never really left me, even weeks up until the end of it. That feeling just is haunting. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So did you said you filed for emergency custody? Did you file for full custody or just
No,
what?
I always maintained that 50-50 was what I was going for. I
Yeah.
made sure my attorney understood that I'm not trying to, just take her away from mom forever. That was never my goal.
Yeah. And so, okay,
But
so she came back. What did you? So she lived with you for a while, then she got her own place. What was custody at that point when after she came back? Do you,
it was pretty lax whenever she came back. Usually after like a severe a predicament, I guess.
yeah,
It would kind of be easy for a week, sometimes two. Um, but yeah, for that period, it was I would have her at least 50% of the time, if not more.
yeah,
And then she would when because she was so close, even after she got her own place, if she was wanting to go do something, she would just call me. If
right,
I was able to, I would always watch her.
sure.
Anytime, I was always willing to do what I needed to do.
And how old was she at that point? Then your daughter?
So at that point, she was about 6 months old.
Oh wow. Okay. And
Yeah,
so then,
and all this.
yeah, what was the next predicament? I like that wording. That in the story. What came up next? So she's 6 months old. She's sort of in and out of her life a little bit. What was the next step?
So it kind of when another situation came up, which was basically I wasn't doing exactly what was asked of me, whether it be respond to a question a certain way or do some kind of activity with my kid. It was a problem, and
Hmm.
it was brought up, many times that I wasn't willing to work with her, so she felt like she should just keep her away. I just didn't feel like it was right. It didn't make sense to me. So, I asked my lawyer about it. He said, we need to push forward the next steps. You need to get this woman away from you. It sounds very toxic, very
Yeah, for sure.
like it's going to cause me a lot of problems later on if I don't do something about it now. So that's what I chose to do. I chose to push for, actual 50-50 instead of this, every other weekend arrangement, which was basically what I had at the moment at that time. That's what I had.
On paper, that's what you
Yeah,
had.
on paper from
Yeah,
from the court from the
yeah,
initial emergency hearing.
yeah. And did you during this time frame? I I know I personally recommend this to everybody because it's been recommended to me. Document everything. Were you documenting all of the shenanigans that were going on with her?
Sure, I have notebooks. My family has notebooks. Everybody that was involved because I
That's
was
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah I was with people, and my attorney, he has it's a stack. It's just a huge stack of
Yeah.
stuff that I turned in. Um, I, I hear people, there were benefits to it, but it seemed like when I was keep writing that stuff and constantly reading over it. It was really difficult for me to address personal things in my life because I was so obsessed about making sure that I was doing
Mhm.
everything I need to do, make sure everything was written down, accounted for. But it definitely helped a lot, to have that information available to me at any
Oh
time.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so then you filed again? Is that what happened? You filed again for actual 50-50?
Yeah, yeah. So well, the initial, the court system is very long and very drawn out. It
Mhm.
takes months to get anything done.
Yep.
That emergency hearing took about a month just,
Mhm.
to get in front of a judge. So it was, we still had, I'm not sure, I don't have the dates in front of me, but
No worries.
I'm thinking it was about 5 months after she actually came back after that initial hearing that we were able to go back in front of the judge, and all because the switches were so rapid from, everything's great, everything's wonderful to, you should never see this kid again.
Right,
It happens so frequently, and I felt like I was being the having to convince her, that I'm okay, everything's good.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, once we did go back, we were able to, you know, to get an actual 50-50 agreement because, for the most part, I was always there.
Yeah.
I was providing, I was taking care of everything. So we had I don't know, we had it on paper, but it really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So she wasn't she pretty much ignored it anyway. But so did anything change at all then, or just the fact that you had a paper that said you have you're entitled to 50-50 or whatever?
After the initial um 50-50, it kind of it seemed like it intensified everything. Once I had this, this order from a judge, and I tried to use it to my advantage, it just caused much more backlash. The police starting getting involved a lot, false
Based on,
DSS allegations.
really? So this is all
Um,
coming from her then, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. And she had no problem telling me that she was doing it. She would let me know before she would go do it that,
Jeez.
hey, I'm going to DSS. I feel like my kid is, being assaulted. I feel like, it's just a lot all the time. It was always something, it was always way out of left field.
Yeah. And how did the just out of curiosity, how did the cops? I mean, it sounds like eventually they probably got to know you pretty well. Like, how did they deal with? Like, did they start saying, "Yeah, here we are again. Sorry, man," or were they very accusatory and like looking for shit on you? Did they believe her? I mean, I guess is the question.
Initially, the first few times, they were very insistent that I do exactly what she say, regardless of what the court orders say.
Really?
And yeah, and like, for an example, there were many times where, I, for documentation, if she's not gonna allow me to have my kid on my time, I have to file a police report. That's the only thing that will hold up in court. Is if I actually call the police and they come out there and make a report, and I have to go get it. So in doing that, that's how I found out it really doesn't matter what the court order says. If if she had, the child, they weren't gonna push it. They were just gonna tell me that I just need to let things be. But when they come to my home, and tell me the same thing because she's obviously going through something that, is, in my opinion, not good for, a 1-year-old to be around.
Yeah.
They basically, start threatening, disturbance of the peace, just ridiculous. Basically just put me in jail overnight so that she would get the kid back.
Wow. And
And
so,
and
what
that
did?
happened a few times, when
Jesus
it first
Christ.
started.
So, what did your lawyer say about all that?
Uh, basically what he told me many times, even up until the end, when I kept complaining about what the police were doing, what they were saying was that the cops don't know the law. They just know how to enforce laws
Uh,
and or I guess just how to make you stop or do what they want.
yeah, yeah,
And it kind of, I mean, that's really what it was. It was it, the mom is allowed to you know scream and holler at them, and act as she pleases. But no matter how calm I am, I still have to do what she says. I mean, that kind of was the story of my life for about 3 years. DSS constantly coming through.
now did
Kind
you
of,
ever counter that and not be as petty and like I'm going to call the cops, but did you have concerns about your child's safety with her mother, and did you do anything like she did, like call child services and all that kind of shit?
sure. So I did. My mom actually did. One of her neighbors, had contacted me one night and said, "Look, you need to come over here right now." And I went over there, and they're just telling me all these stories, and
Mm.
I had never talked to these people before, but they decided to contact me, and were were giving me, you know making me listen to audio snippets of the conversations that they're having with this woman.
Wow.
She's uh, intoxicated and passed out in her car with
Jesus.
the child in the back seat, in the summertime.
Wow.
Um, so out of fear, I didn't want to, I guess push against her. My mom actually called,
Mm.
and that basically went nowhere.
Mm.
But I mean, it's kind of, every single time that she went to Child Protective Services, they would come out, and like you said with the police, they would come out and say, "Look, we're sorry. Like, we know that you get calls all the time, but we have to follow through with every one of them."
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. That's just, and at times I would have DSS come, and then if they didn't do anything, which they never did because, nothing was going on, it was
Yeah.
just to have that over my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes investigators would come and start their own investigation and say that somebody came in and gave a complaint. Yeah. That's just the way it was for a long time, for 3 years.
Jeez. So what led you to finally push for full custody?
So, uh, one night, it was actually November 2020. She called me. I was at work, and then she called my mom and said that somebody's got to come get this kid. And at the time she was 2. Somebody's got to come get their kid, and I just can't do it anymore. I can't. And had all her things on the side of the road, like everything from her room on the side of the road.
Oh my God.
And that's what kind of, I guess, made me switch gears with what was going on. I never actually pushed for full custody, but that's when I started pushing for, um, primary.
Mm.
And, that was given to me pretty quick because of the circumstances. But as soon as, so like I said, that was November. In December, that's when I had a DSS case and an investigator at my house.
Mm.
So it was any time that was, basically given her for long periods of time. If it was out of the confines of what the court order said, then, I could pretty much guarantee that there's going to be some kind of, backlash coming my way. That's
Mm.
just the way it always was. So that's what made me start, pushing for primary at the time. I never actually, I didn't start pushing for sole custody until let's see, it's been 9 months ago now, or I'm sorry, it's been 11 months ago now. In January, beginning of this year,
Mm.
she hadn't seen our kid in like 5 or 6 weeks, and she just showed up to daycare and took her, disappeared with her.
Oh,
It
wow.
took me like it took me about a week and a half to find her. I finally did. I finally got her served, and the judge actually made an emergency hearing to give me temporary sole custody and gave the police permission to like physically take her if necessary.
Wow.
Um, so with that, whenever we actually went, she didn't want to respond. She didn't want to answer the door.
Yeah.
Um, what ended up happening was she was trying to fight the police and trying to push them away, and um, the cops had to run my daughter over to me. It was, I'll never forget. It just started snowing and it was real cold, and she wasn't wearing hardly any clothes. Oh man, that so I actually missed a part. I'm sorry.
No, no worries.
So in 2020, it was February actually. And in February of 2020, it was kind of the same ordeal. She had said she needed to go take care of something. She was gone for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I hadn't really heard from her, and she started messaging me saying she wanted her right now. She's got to come get her right now. And I said, "Look, it's late.
Yeah.
Let's we can work it out now. Let's do something in the morning, or something like that. Just not
Sure.
right now. Like it's already late."
Yeah.
Um, at the time, my kid, this was actually right after the November incident.
Mm.
So she put all her stuff on the side of the road, and then the following February, she is showing up at my house, running around the house, beating on all the doors, and then she decides to start busting out my windows.
Jesus.
Um, and I just grabbed my kid, and there was somebody here, and they immediately called 911. I didn't, I just grabbed my kid and went to the back bedroom. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, I hear the door getting busted in. I'm just freaking out. I don't know what to do. Like I
Yeah.
know if I touch this woman at all, I'm going to jail too. I
Sure.
know if I do anything, it doesn't matter if she's trying to kill me. I'm like that's it for me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, what am I gonna do about my kid?
Yeah.
So she comes in, like she busts in the room. Um, you know, she immediately just pushed me out of the way and grabbed the kid and took off out the door. Um, I ran. I was like right behind her. She ran into the neighbor's house, which apparently she had got dropped off there or something. I don't know.
Mm.
When the police get there, they tell me that she's claiming that I busted out the window, that I brought the kid. In February, I took the kid outside in just a diaper, and that if I don't have any proof that she did it, they're just gonna let her go with my kid.
Oh, wow.
Um, so luckily, one of my neighbors finally came up and let them know, hey, yeah, look, this isn't the first time she's done something like this. That was her. I saw her doing it.
Mm.
So she ended up going to jail. Um, it I had I actually was able to get a restraining order. I was able to get a temporary custody agreement that lasted about 3 months. All her charges got dropped. Um, the judge, whenever we did go back, told me that I was using the restraining order to alienate the child, and that I needed to figure out what I was going to do to make it work. and that it was my responsibility. And I'm baffled. My attorney's looking at me like I don't even know. And it just it, it never really moved from that point.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was in February of 2020. It took 4 months from initially getting her to actually have another hearing because of COVID.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do. They didn't know, when we were even going to be able to go to court. My attorney would say, "It's like, this is good. This is going to help you, because we're not going to be able to do anything. You're going to have her the whole time.
Mm.
She's not allowed. The mom's not allowed around us." And it seemed like mom was kind of going off the deep end with, her, personal things she had going on. So, after that, it went right back to the way it was. She was able to do something extreme like that.
Mm.
Just hold off for a month or two, and everything would go right back to the way it was. Her keeping the kid away, her, moving out of town for a few days or weeks or whatever. And there was nothing really I could do about it.
Yeah. It just, I understand some ways why the system behaves the way that it does. Um, One, I think there's so many fucking people and so many problems, and there's probably not enough judges and enough fucking courthouses. I get that. Two, you know, men don't have a great track record historically. When you look at domestic violence and those kinds of numbers and um, you know murders of
Yeah.
spouses and shit. I mean, we have to look at it. I at least in my view, we have to look at it in a logical, factual kind of way. But when there is clear fucking evidence, I'm baffled that it's so hard. I mean, how could anyone with any fucking sense not look at this and go, "Well, this woman's fucking crazy." Sorry to say, but like, maybe they wouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But there's some issues here. Clearly, it's better for them for the child to be with the father, but they didn't say that, and it baffles me. They gave her so many chances that I just and it's the crazy. I don't know if it's crazy. Another crazy part or baffling part is it's a male judge, so there's you know I would think he would well, maybe he didn't. I don't know, maybe he wasn't a father. Maybe he didn't want to be a father. Shit, I don't I don't know. But you would think he would side with the father. I mean, especially based on the evidence. It baffled me. But I will say, and we're gonna get to this. You know, you didn't stop fighting, and eventually you won out. So that was February of 2020 when that happened. What was I think you mentioned? It was not until what was it? What was the next when and what was the next step after that February incident?
Yeah. So, like I said, I had sole custody the whole time. I had a restraining order.
Yep.
And then about 4 months later, I believe that's when we went back
Mm.
to the same judge. I'm sorry, this judge was a female judge.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, this time it switched.
Yeah.
Because of the duration of
Yeah.
this case, we switched judges several times.
So this is the
But
judge that said you were using the restraining order to
yeah,
alienate. Did she
yeah,
was this judge new at that point to the case, or was that her first go around in that from that
well,
February incident?
well, yeah. This was
Okay.
this was the first time that I had, well, she actually, um, she did the initial emergency hearing, uh, after she broke into the home.
Right.
This
That
is
was
the
the
same
first.
judge.
Okay.
So
So
she decided that I need to make it work. Set up counseling. Um, Decided that we were going to stick with the same 50-50 schedule, and that's why I said it went. It seemed like the mom knew right then.
she could do whatever
Doesn't
she
She
wanted.
can do whatever she wants, and
Yeah.
I have to just eat it, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah.
And that was obvious through the entire thing. Even until the very last moment, the very last minute in court. Like I was just like it just seemed like the judge was fighting herself, and she decides that uh, we should do counseling. We should give it a shot, and I do it. We go to counseling. Every single counseling session we go to, this woman is basically screaming, telling this counselor that I'm the problem, that I don't listen, I won't work together, and I just sit there. I didn't really talk much. I didn't really get to say a lot, which was fine.
Yeah.
But, no real resolution. She ended up giving up, just stopped showing up.
Mm.
Um, it was, mm, it was maybe 2 or 3 months that went by, and she started pushing again, started, really keeping her way, started the DSS investigations.
Mm.
Um, so the next time we go to court, which was about 4 months after this last one, they decide that I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting myself twisted up. I'm
No, it's all
trying
right.
to I'm trying to keep the story. I keep wanting to jump around.
It's all good. It's there's a lot going on. I get it. No worries.
So let's see, she quit going to counseling.
So she had court ordered counseling.
Yeah,
Was that with you and her and you and her daughter, or was it just her? Like,
it was just the two of us.
okay,
Yeah, the daughter has never been involved with any kind of counseling and she's 4 now, but
yeah,
she hasn't. She was too young to do
yeah,
anything like that. Was what we were told.
yeah.
Um,
So
it,
she
it
so she stopped showing up to counseling as well, and causing all the issues all at the same time, sort of in that same time frame, right?
yeah, absolutely. The only thing that happened the next time I went to court, they added some little stipulations like we were not allowed to use third party um, for basically accusations. Like we were not supposed to go to Child Protective Services. This was
Okay.
in the court order. Um,
And do you
but
think that was more for her, so she would stop that then?
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. I mean, because my attorney, he pushed for that every time that she wouldn't be able to, frivolously use,
yeah,
such a service.
yeah,
It never helped. Even
yeah.
she actually made 2 reports in July of this year.
Mm,
You know, in the same month, made 2 reports just to try to push it because that it was we were
yeah,
coming up on our final hearing. So 2021 went up. That's where she really started kind of,
yeah,
not showing up a lot or only showing up to cause chaos.
yeah,
Um, she had obviously got into doing some kind of drugs.
yeah,
Had started making a lot of really poor life decisions, and that was kind of showing, a lot in her appearances and all that.
yeah.
Um, she actually had to. She ended up going to a psych ward, to get help, which I had started really, and anytime I talked to her, just
Yeah,
go get help, go get help, go get help. Like I see it, I get it.
yeah,
Um, but it kind of went nowhere. She would
yeah,
stay for a few days or maybe 2 weeks and come right back, say I'm better, and
right,
we're right back at it.
yeah,
And there was a lot of silence as far as I kind of gave up on court. I felt like it wasn't going anywhere. I quit talking to my attorney about it.
mm,
It seemed pointless.
yeah,
I tried my best just to let her see her, with reasonable stipulations, but it's still the trust the trust could never be regained.
yeah,
She couldn't let go of the idea that I was just trying to keep her daughter away.
mm,
And no matter how hard I tried, and because I really pushed for a long time to do 50-50, 50
yeah,
50 to be,
yeah,
parent this child together because
yeah,
I know she needs. both sides. She needs her dad and her mom, not
Sure.
just me.
Yep.
I never wanted that. But
Yeah.
um like I said, in the end of in December, right before Christmas of oh, I'm sorry, I missed another one.
No
Um
worries.
when she did go to um in November after she put all her stuff on the side of the road in 2020, she actually did go to get assessed at the hospital. And
Hmm.
while she was there, she was making allegations to them about me. So they actually, Child Protective Services actually came to my house and took my daughter um, on December 16th. It was right before Christmas.
Goodness gracious.
Um, and the cops, they were saying, you could tell they had empathy for me.
Yeah.
They were telling me, look, man, I get it, dude. I don't,
Yeah.
I know this isn't happening. This isn't right. This isn't fair. He
Yeah.
said, just keep doing what you're doing, and I promise you, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you
that
believe?
hurt. That was hard to deal with.
I can imagine. Did you believe him that was going to get better?
It gave me hope. I'm not sure why, but just feeling like I had,
Yeah.
those people that I felt like were, being used to attack me. I feel
Yeah.
like that they were.
Yeah. They started to
If
see
she
the
wanted
truth.
something, they would do whatever they could to try to get that from me. And now I'm starting to see the switch.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to see, that they're coming to my house so often, they know what's going on now.
Yeah. So that was December. So she got taken. What happened at that point?
Um, so so mom was using that, saying that I had an open DSS investigation to
Mhm.
try to get, my time taken away again. After she had done, gave rights away.
Right, right.
Um, that like I said, that was the theme of what was happening. She would give up and go do what she wanted to do, and then when she was done with that, it was, attack me, try to get me to, cower and run away.
So after that, she was taken. Did you get her back shortly after, or what was the? I mean, you said it was right before Christmas. Hopefully, I mean that was that resolved fairly quickly, or how did that?
Well, they told me whenever they came and got her that it was going to take at least, it would take up to 3 months before they would make a decision. Luckily, it only took about a month, close to about a month and a half was actually how long it took. But my
So
mom,
where
my
was
mom
she?
actually came
Yes.
over and she was able to, immediately take my kid with her.
Ah, okay,
Um,
good. Thank God. Okay.
yeah, I wasn't, I was only allowed to see her during the day, like only a few times a week. Like it was crazy stipulations. And at the same time, my mom is having to also do this with, my ex.
Oh boy.
And, she's really, she had to deal with her in the past, but now she's really in the mix.
Yeah.
She's right there. So that's when allegations started happening to her house. She starts saying that, my my grandma that's, almost 80 years old is molesting my daughter, or my mom's friend that comes over sometimes is, it's just it was pretty constant. It was getting hit from every angles.
Yeah.
And no matter what I said, no matter what I did, it never didn't make a difference, to the courts or to DSS or Child Protective Services or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And so what at that point, a month and a half ish later or whatever, you get her back then? Did things go sort of back to normal, sort of?
goes back to 50-50 again.
Yeah. And then so that was December of 2020, I think you said. So then what was the next step in the timeline?
So, like I said, that was in at the end of January. That's where things kind of went of 2021. That's where things kind of went, 50-50 on paper, but it,
Right.
it didn't really matter. And like I said, that's when I kind of Um, that's when I kind of gave up. I
Yeah.
kind of with the court system. I kept
Right.
trying, I kept fighting, I kept trying to do my best to be in my kid's life, but really the only time that I was allowed to was when she didn't want to or had
Mm,
something, going on that
right.
would allow me time with her.
Gotcha. And so what came next after that? Like what triggered? I mean, you're not at that place anymore. So what was the next did you file for more custody or um how did you get to where you are now from that point?
Sure. So that 2021 was mostly her either wanting her every day all the time, or not wanting anything at all to do with her.
Yeah.
That kind of just went on. Like I said, I basically allowed that to go on
Yeah.
all year for 2021.
Yeah.
I just kind of dealt with it because I felt like I was just wasting money.
Yeah.
I felt like, paying my attorney $1,000 to walk into a courtroom and say things I felt like I could have said, which, in
Right.
hindsight, I'm not an attorney. I don't know the laws, but,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't help but feel like, I could have
Sure.
done a better job and got, what I needed or whatever.
Yep.
But actually didn't. I Whenever I started getting death threats every day, like things such as this, I got a gun, it's just for you, I'm gonna murder you if you come close to me or my child,
My God.
you're dead, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna shoot you, just it was constant. Like I was getting, like I actually went to the police station and showed them. They're like, yeah man, that's freedom of speech. I took it to, my attorney, and he's like, well, we can try, we can see.
Yeah.
We took it in front of a judge, a male judge, and he threatened me with jail and said that I was fabricating these messages and pictures and, things like that, because the mom was changing phone numbers every
Uh
month at least,
Gotcha.
constantly. So I had no way to prove it. And even
Right.
even when I tried to look back, I was able to subpoena the phone records. Um, I don't know if it matters who it is, who you go through, but
Right.
the letter that Verizon sent back was that they don't participate in that.
Oh.
They don't do that. Yeah, if you I don't I'm not sure the circumstances. I couldn't really get my attorney to go into it anymore. He just kind of
Yeah.
was dismissive about it, but I wasn't able to prove anything. And when
Yeah.
we went back, the judge, didn't care about it, didn't want to hear about it, just,
Hmm.
you know.
Was this
But
the
yeah,
same? So this you said this was a male judge with this particular with the death threats and stuff.
yeah, this was a male judge this time.
Okay.
He was very dismiss. Anything that she said was taken literal, no matter how bizarre it sounded. It was, given of utmost respect to the judges. And any defense, I had to, prove my innocence
Yeah.
based off of anything that was said about me.
Yeah.
I had to make sure that I had proof that I wasn't a child molester, or, thing. How do you prove that?
Yeah.
But that's what they wanted. They wanted me to know I'm not violent, that I'm not, that I make tons of money, that my house is full of food, that just
Yeah.
everything must be perfect. And even though she was, I had messages that I had turned in. She said that she was living in her car, that she had nowhere to go. Her family didn't want anything to do with her,
Mhm.
and that she was, I don't know, just many things.
Yeah.
But um, she had messaged me one day. This was in 2021. This was probably September or October. This was, getting close to when I got sole custody. But she sends me messages, of my kid in the back seat, terrified, crying. And I'm like, what is going on? And she said, my mom just ran into me with my car and is attacking me. And I'm
Jeez.
like, what? Like, why are you telling? Like, call the police.
Yeah.
She wouldn't respond to me, answer the phone anymore. I called several different police stations, and she says that she she basically is, I don't know, riding around living in her car and not letting me see her. She's in a different town,
Jeez.
and all the police stations that I'm calling are telling me either you're talking to the wrong people, or
Right.
why aren't you doing something about it? Like, they're like attacking me. Like, they're
Right.
asking me why I waited so long, to call
Yeah.
anybody. I'm like, I've been calling, for like an hour. I can't, nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Finally they're able to locate her. They talked to her. They called me and they say that, it's not illegal to live in your car. It looks like she has water in there. And this is, you know, it just, I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, what do you mean? Like, what about the car wreck? Oh, she said there was no car wreck. Nothing happened. She says
Oh,
that it sounds like you're making stuff up. And I'm tore up. I
yeah.
don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind. And like, I'm really at a breaking point.
Yeah.
And, that's when I guess that was, I think September, October, that I went to my attorney. I'm like, look, this, whatever we got to do, let's figure it out. This has to stop. Like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing it. I can't keep putting myself through this. Like, we got to figure something else out. And that's when they basically pushed for media. Well, we had to go to mediation. That resulted in nothing. That was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
Um, but that's, like I said, not even 2 months later, I've got two new investigations, and she picks her up from daycare and disappears.
Oh, goodness. So that's the towards the end of 2021.
hmm Yep, that was in October, and then that December, um, October was when the homeless,
Right.
living with kid in the car. Then December, that's when she just took her out of daycare, just picked her up, didn't let anybody know, and disappeared.
And is that what at that point then you went to the lawyer and said, "All right, let's file for Soul." Is that
Yeah.
kind
Well,
of
actually, I went and found her myself. Like, I figured out where she was.
mm,
Because, I mean, because I knew I couldn't just waste another $3,000 or $4,000 trying to figure out where she was.
yeah.
Luckily she was in town. I didn't have to look real hard, but I got her served immediately. The judge, like, really quickly, decided that I needed sole custody, emergency sole custody. They went to her house and took her, and I didn't really, I didn't really hear anything from her. She and eventually got supervised visits.
Mm,
She had a lot of trouble finding anybody that was willing to, do the supervision.
yeah.
She actually only did from January to uh, the final hearing this past October. She only had two visits, like, by her choice. Like, she just wouldn't show. Like, I would, get my daughter ready. Had they planned, that's where she's supposed to be, and she just wouldn't show up.
So
Like, her supervisor.
you had I want to go back a little bit. So you filed for Soul and you had an emergency hearing at that point. Was that was in what, the beginning of 2021, I think, or
Yeah.
sorry, 2022.
Yeah. 22. Yep.
Yep. So this
Yep. At
year,
the very beginning.
was that a new judge again, or was it a repeat of one of the older judges?
So there's basically three judges that we kind of cycle through.
Gotcha.
We always had those same three judges.
Gotcha. And that on that for that one in particular, which one was that? Just out of curiosity.
So that was the male judge.
Okay.
For 2022, we had the male judge that was threatening me with jail for for fabricating evidence.
Interesting. And but he awarded you temporary sole custody.
Yeah, he did. He did after whenever she picked her up from daycare.
Yeah.
Um,
And what was just out of curiosity, what did he say about that ruling, or what, what his decision, and like was there any kind of
they
commentary?
they never go back. They never talk about and the final hearing,
Yeah.
that judge was the one that told me that I was using the restraining order as for alienation.
And that's the female.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she
She she
was she
she
was
did our final hearing.
okay. And so that was in, you said, recently, last month?
Yeah, October.
Wow. Okay. So from January, with the sole temporary sole custody, until October, very recent. You had temporary sole custody that whole time, and she worked pretty hard against you at that point to uh, repeat some of the stuff of the past in terms of child protective services calls,
Mhm.
harassment, any of that kind of stuff. She kept that stuff up during that time, or did she finally back off a little bit?
The harassments, the the first person harassment stopped.
Okay.
I quit receiving messages from. Well, occasionally I receive messages from weird numbers
Random
or
numbers, yeah.
fake accounts, stuff like that. But I just never responded to them, and they never persisted or carried out that attack, I guess. But as far as child protective services, yes, there was. And what me was it was always the Monday following those two visits she had.
Uh,
She would have a visit that weekend,
yeah.
and then that following Monday, there would be, an
Yeah.
investigator at my house,
So
asking
yeah,
questions.
she got a taste of time and wanted more, I guess, essentially.
I believe so.
Interesting. So okay, so the final hearing, what did, again, today, was there any kind of commentary, like, sorry
Mm-mm.
you've been through this, or we got it wrong, or anything of that nature?
I never got, I sit there as I was sitting in the court, I had high expectations that this judge would say anything,
Yeah.
regarding that. But
Yeah.
I never got any of that. Even up until, like I said, up until when we went to court this last time, as soon as I got on the stand, I had probably been on the stand, my attorney had just started, uh, asking questions and,
Mhm.
going into the basics. And, the mom just stood up and decided she was done, walked out of the courtroom. Um, and this was after my attorney had caught her in several lies on the stand. She would tell a lie. My attorney would,
Yeah.
show exactly how that's a lie, and basically ask, why are you lying about it?
Now,
That happened several times.
did she have an attorney herself, your ex?
She, over the course of that time, she had six attorneys,
Oh
and
shit.
she kept firing them, and they were actually, not speaking not speaking good about her. And they were telling the judge, directly, while I'm sitting there listening to it, that she has uh, the issues she needs to address with herself before she gets concerned with
Yeah.
parenting, basically. And that even in that last hearing, we had two guardian ad litems.
Mm.
That was, we had one for the kid supposedly, and
Mm.
one just for the mom.
Wow.
And all of the judge decided that, since the mom wasn't paying anything, had no plans to pay anything, that it would be my job to financially, support all of, basically all the court, everything, all the court costs would fall on me, and I would be responsible for getting that money back from her. And I guess that's just part of it. I hear that happening a lot, and that's my attorney said that off before we even went, that you're gonna foot this whole bill, hers and yours.
All right.
Which
Well, I I always, I guess I try to find the positive as much as possible, and it's a lot of bullshit that you dealt with. And is it fair? No. But I got a whole fucking heaps of life not being fair examples, right?
Yeah.
And should there be some changes? Absolutely, I couldn't argue that. But you didn't quit. You had some moments of doubt and frustration,
Despair.
and you did, sure, all of it, right? And maybe there were times when you took a step back and you rested. I'll say, but you didn't quit, and ultimately you did persevere, right? I mean, she's there now, and you won. Now I want to, but before I want to sit with that though for a moment and sort of stew in it, because you did win. You have sole custody. You're able to be with that child, thankfully, luckily. Should it have been this hard? Fuck no, it shouldn't have. But you did win. With that said, and I think that is huge. And I say that because I don't know if you can put a price on. I mean, obviously everyone needs money to live and all of that good shit. But I don't know if you could put a price on winning sole custody. And you did that. I mean, obviously it would have been better if it wouldn't have cost so much, obviously. But with that said, and obviously that's why you're here, because it in a lot of ways it is a success story. You got to the end and you have sole custody. You fought harder than some folks would have, for sure. Obviously harder than she did, which is a testament to you, and something you will impart to your daughter, I am sure. But is there a part of you that is looking over your shoulder and waiting for more of her bullshit? Or do you think this will finally sort of push her to step back and step away?
So let me start off first by saying that it the amount of money I paid, all the substantial, it was more about keeping my daughter
Of course.
out of, safeties, keeping her safe.
Yep.
She was in danger. I mean,
Yeah.
that was my fear, is that
Yeah.
she's in actual danger with this person.
Yeah.
And, that's what made it worth it for me to know
Yeah.
that possibly I might be able to keep her away from that.
Yeah.
As far as looking over my shoulder, that's never stopped. Sometimes when I'm going outside, I like hurry up and get my car and lock the doors, and I'm like looking around. Sometimes when I pull in my driveway, I'm looking around still to this day because of the stuff that she has done, that I've, witnessed myself.
Yeah.
I've had people, call me and tell me, "Hey, look, this woman just offered me $200 to come find you and beat you up," or, "Hey, look, this woman or my neighbor recently just told me that she was trying to get her to, make up lies about me. That she was actually just arrested, um, 3 days ago for trying to break into my mom's house that she does Airbnb at." And she told the cops and, everybody that my mom was supposed to be meeting her there to meet her kids. So she was, I don't know what her purpose of doing that was, but,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's ever gonna stop.
Is
You
there
know,
any possibility, and I don't know, that, or you have, I'm sure you thought of it because you're probably almost constantly trying to figure out ways to get out of this. Have you ever thought about moving somewhere and not? Because at this point, you don't. I mean, obviously, you don't want to move far from your family, but I mean, even within the town or whatever, I'm sure she would be able to find you. But because at this point, she has no visitation or anything, right? There's nothing. You're sole,
mm,
and
yeah,
so is there ever a thought? I mean, obviously, Aruba would be nice or something of that nature, but have you ever considered just within the town or close by, where you would just hopefully be able to get some peace of mind and go somewhere where she doesn't know where you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always wanted to take my daughter somewhere. I've always honestly wanted to move to the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, and
Yeah,
I've always wanted to move, but something has always happened.
yeah,
Something that's always stopped me. So yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we just come to an
yeah,
agreement
yeah,
in October.
yeah,
I had no idea which way it was going to go because whenever we went to court,
yeah.
right before we're about to walk in, my attorney is obviously looking at, he's looking at me real nervous and wide-eyed and
Right.
telling me, man, I'm kind of nervous, and this is what he tells me as we were about to walk into court. I'm kind of nervous because I just lost a case yesterday, and the mom was worse than this one.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And he said he lost. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
whole time I went through this, all I could think, I never knew what was going to happen because the judges would always say something that just caught me way off guard that just didn't make sense to me every single time. And this last time, this last hearing, after she walked out, they actually got somebody to go out, the bailiff to go out and call to see if she was still there so she could come back in if she wanted to. After we're done, my attorney's like, Judge, I need to, put this out there that my his office was literally right across the street from the courthouse, and the mom is walking up and like pacing in front of his office, waiting on us to get out. And the judge is, looking terrified and oh my goodness, yeah, y'all need somebody to escort you guys out, And I personally asked, if I could get some kind of restraining order or something because this woman stalks me, harasses me,
yeah.
all of these things. But, it just even with her pacing in front of the courthouse after she walked out, stormed out mad, still nothing, it's
Well, so I'm gonna ask you obviously the last question I'm gonna ask you, but I wanna ask you another one before that because of your circumstances, what you went through. Um, what words of wisdom would you give to a man who is trying to get more custody, period, whether that be 50-50 or maybe sole? What advice do you give to that man?
I think one of the hardest hitting things that and it's not good, I don't think. But one of the hardest hitting things that my attorney told me, and this was actually the beginning of 2021 or the middle, something like that. Whenever the allegations started flooding in, he told me that he loved his kids a lot, but he wouldn't lose his freedom for his children. And he went on to explain that eventually what was going to happen to me was that she's going to find uh, somebody that was willing to hold charges above my head so that I would have, a pending, child molestation case against me. Um, that that was the hardest thing for me to deal with. And I don't, you just have to be so strong to do. I mean, you have to be willing to, I don't know. It's tough, like to be able to say that I'm willing to give up my freedom for my child for something so ridiculous. It You just have to hold on. You just have to keep doing what's right. I don't know. I had to be the best me I could every day. Like
Did
that's the
you
only way I could persevere.
did you have it sounds like you and you said it earlier, you had a support system. How much did that help, and how much did you lean on that during this process?
Heavily. If I'm an extrovert, so I have to talk to people. I love communicating,
Yeah,
and if I didn't have people surrounding me all the time, there's no way I could have done it. There's no because there were still some days I couldn't get out of bed. It was hard for me to make myself eat. If I didn't have those people around me all the time, I don't think I would have been able to do it. honestly. If I was in a town by myself, I mean, that's probably one of my fears of moving
Mm,
is that, I
that
would have
makes
to,
sense.
build a new support system.
Um, I gotta say, I'm gonna say this before we end. I'll probably say it again, man. I think you're a fucking hero, and I don't think people should throw that word around. To that little girl, you're a hero. To me, you're a hero. Um, your strength is, I mean, yeah, it's pretty fucking awesome, man. I think I'm happy to get this story out there because yeah, there's lots of shit in here and unfairness and bullshit, but you persevered, and the effect that's going to have on your daughter is it's I don't think it's too grandiose to say it's world changing because it's going to extrapolate out. Like she's going to be a better person and a healthier person, and I'm assuming um, she's going to have struggles as we all do. She's going to have struggles in dealing with this stuff, and but seem to me the kind of guy who will get her the help that she needs when she has these troubles. Not that she's going to end up like her mother or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that just the struggles of dealing with this type of a situation as a child, they always manifest. But because you're there, and because you have sole custody, you're going to be able to help her through this process. And so without you doing this, without you fighting, who knows the future? I mean, obviously it's unknown now anyway, but she's going to be a better person and have a better life for it. There's no question. And that's going to touch other people's lives. So again, my friend, you're a fucking hero. Don't ever doubt that. Um, and so with that, no pressure. Uh, what are some words of wisdom you would impart to a man who's just starting his divorce process, whether that be someone going through custody shit or just a regular old shitty ass divorce?
Well, there's no avoiding, the hurt and the hardships that you got to deal with. I do think that, I've got to do, whatever my best is every day. I try to be better every day, but to keep going even when it does get hard is most certainly for me, the most difficult thing about all this is to, even when I want to fall apart, to still go to court that day. You know, that was something that I learned through this process. That's something that, I really, I'm really holding on to still is,
True.
because it was easy before I had kids or, before I had responsibilities to
Sure.
call out of work and, that was it. But
Yeah.
I don't know, just keep pushing. You just got to keep going. If that's what you really want, you'll keep going.
Yeah. Amen. Well, Andrew, I thank you, honestly, for doing this, for getting this story out there. I definitely want to stay in touch. I want to keep uh, making sure that well, I don't know, making sure, but I want to stay informed for sure. I want you to reach out. If things get shitty again, or whatever, just I feel compelled to stay in touch with you and um, keep getting inspired, I guess, in some ways. It's yeah, I'm I'm at a bit of loss for words just because I think a lesser person would I know a lesser person would have. I don't even know if I would have. I think I would have, but they would have walked the fuck away a long time ago. But man, you didn't give up, and that's again world changing because it's not only going to change your daughter's life, but it's going to change someone else's life too that she is going to touch. And revel in that, my friend. Take a few moments today. Certainly go and hug and kiss that little girl and give her the love that you fought to give her. Man, so fucking inspiring, man. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
I mean, I really appreciate you. You're doing you yourself. You're doing, life changing stuff for people, and I really appreciate, how long I see, how long you've been doing this, man. Just keep at it. It's gonna pay off. I
Yeah,
really
thanks.
appreciate, you being there for us too.
You're welcome, man.
You
I
know,
appreciate that. Please
listening
stay.
to us.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Like you, doing my best. I think doing what I feel compelled to do. It's not always easy, for sure. And but moments like this certainly make it all worthwhile. I thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep. All right. Take care. Thank you so much for watching and/or listening. Since my separation in July of 2019, I have done an incredible amount of work on myself. I've had many different therapists, life coaches, and went through different programs. I've taken all that I've learned and put it into my own program called Forged by Fire. If you are interested in having me help you navigate your divorce, please hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I look forward to working with you.